Okay. No looking at on your back. Let's make music. Sorry for the technical issues. Uh, man. How did that sound off? But we will progress with it. Um, oh, there was a tutorial I wanted to watch. Other than
External
this one. Uh, list tutorials.
If you want to take your melodies from sounding like this to sounding like this, this is the video for you. I'm going to be teaching you how to make fire chord progressions, master sound selection, how to mix your melodies, and at the very end, I'm going to give you a bunch of super saucy and really easy to use tips that you can start using today to make your melodies sound more interesting and more fire. So whether you're a complete beginner making melodies or you're just looking to level up, this video will have something for you. And we have a ton to cover, so let's get right into it. To start off, we need to understand a little bit of basic music theory. And I promise this video won't be a super boring, long, generic video where I'm just talking about a bunch of music theory, because honestly, half of the battle is choosing good sounds, having good effect plugins, and good VSTs. But if you're struggling to make good chord progressions and good melodies in the first place, great sounds, great effect plugins, and great VSTs will not save you. To kind of give an analogy, if you build a really cool looking house on a super weak foundation, it's still gonna be a super weak house. And the same thing goes for melodies. Having a great core musical idea is the first half of the battle. So let's dive into that. The first thing you need to understand about music theory, which is super beginner level, are keys and scales. Essentially, this is just a group of notes that work well together. And when you're making a melody, you want to make sure that all the notes you're using are staying inside of the scale. And technically, you can go out of scale once you get a little bit more advanced. But if you're just starting out, make sure you're staying in scale, because if you go out of key or out of the scale, stuff starts to sound really weird and not in a good way. And inside of those keys and scales, you can play melodies, but you can also play chords. And if you're a super beginner, you don't know what a chord is. Essentially, it's just a group of 3 notes together that harmonize well and sound good when they're all played at the same time. And instead of boring you with a ton of crazy music theory in this video, I'm gonna go in and show you a cheat code that you can start using in your DAW right now to make chord progressions without knowing too much music theory. So what you're gonna want to do is just get any basic sound loaded up. I've got this piano right here. And then we're gonna go into the MIDI right here. And the first thing that we're gonna do inside of Logic is we're gonna turn on the scale quantize. We're gonna go to C, and we're gonna choose the natural minor scale. So there's 2 main scales that you can choose, a major scale and a minor scale. Minor scales tend to sound more dark, and major scales tend to sound more bright and happy. For me personally, working in the minor scale is the easiest one to do. So you wanna set your scale quantize to the scale of your choosing. This will work in any scale. And then you wanna grab this paintbrush tool right here. And essentially what this does is it will not let you place a note out of key. And if you're in FL Studio, you can use something called ghost notes that will essentially highlight the notes that are in the scale that you choose. Anyways, once you have this tool on, to build your very first chord, I'm just going to start on this C note right here, since we're in C minor. It's the first note of the scale. Go right there. And this trick is very simple. All you're gonna wanna do is skip a note in the scale. So place a note on every other note
Yeah,
in
I
the
know
scale.
this.
And you
Okay.
wanna do
Rah. I know this already. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. Not what I want to make. We have it. Um, hmm.
Do that till you have 3 notes. So right now we have 1. The next note that it lets me click is here. Skip 1 here. This is the next note it lets me place, so I skip that note, every other note, until you get something like this. Sounds pretty good. And there's 2 main type of chords that you're going to be using with these triad chords. This one is a minor chord, and minor chords have a more dark sound, and the other kind is a major chord, which has a more bright, happy, uplifting kind of sound. The way that I like to think about minor chords is the bottom note has 2 spaces, and then the middle note has 3 spaces until the top note. And then for a major chord, you just invert that. So you move the middle note up 1, and then it's 3 spaces from the bottom to the middle, and 2 spaces from the middle to the top. So now that you have a little bit of an understanding of what these chords are, let me show you how you can actually make a progression of them without knowing which ones mix and match well together. So with this scale lock on, I'm just going to click random notes in the scale, right, like this. So no thought behind that. And then we're just going to use that skip a note in the scale trick with this scale quantize on to build each of these to have 3 different notes. So skip this note in the scale, let me go there, skip 1 here, and look, there's a minor chord. So now we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do the same thing right here. And then again right here. Skip, skip, every other note. And then you get a full chord progression. And this is not the best chord progression, but my strategy, if I was you, is to come up with the bottom notes first and come up with a little baseline melody that you like, right? So I kind of like that right there. And I'm hearing this being a little bit more to the right. So we got something like this. Right? And then you just use that same skip a note in the scale technique, and then you get this. So just like that, you can make your own chord progressions that will work together and will stay in key. But the only problem with that is it sounds super robotic and boring and generic. So now I'm gonna give you 5 things that you can do to level up this exact chord progression that we just built. First thing that you can do is you can use that same trick to extend the chords. So instead of just leaving it at 3 notes, which is a triad chord, we're going to extend the chord and add more notes to the chord to make it a 7 chord. And 7 chords have 4 notes. You're just going to do that skip a note trick one more time, right? Skip this note here. Now you have a minor 7 chord. You hear how that sounds a little different than this? A little bit more emotional. And you could do this all the way up the keyboard. Skip a note, go right here. Skip a note, go right here. The more you add, the weirder it can sound, but it can also sound cool if you use it right. Right? So that sounds a lot more lush and luxurious. So I'm just
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, see, he said to put the bottom notes first, so let's actually do that. How do you mute them again? It's like, nice, thank you. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
I'm just going to stick to 4 notes, the 7 chords, and I'm going to extend all of these real quick, and then the chord progression should sound a little bit better. The next thing you could do to make them sound more interesting is to mess with the inversions. Inverting the chords is not adding any new notes, but just changing the actual octave that these notes are playing. So if I was going to invert this chord progression, I might take these 2 top notes and put them down right here, and then maybe these notes right here and put them down right here. And then you get a completely different tonality, but it's still playing all the same notes. Right? And then maybe I would take these down too. So you just mess with the octaves like that, and it can make it sound a lot more exotic, even if it's a super...
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, that's a melody from a. Thank you. Oh, I messed it up. Teach me
basic
something I don't
generic
know,
chord progression. Now,
please.
the next thing that you could do is start to mess with the rhythm. So right now we have a super straightforward rhythm. If I wanted to spice it up a little bit more, I could maybe move this over a little bit like this. Maybe just have one note playing right there. And I'm not adding any new notes. I'm just going to be kind of moving everything to be playing in more interesting rhythms. And you could go crazy with this. You could add something right there, maybe another chord hit right there, and then change the inversions like this so that it's kind of going up. all that is done without adding any new notes to this equation, just chopping stuff up and messing with the rhythm and the bounce of stuff. For this next tip, I undid those rhythm edits that I just did because this one is kind of similar, but you can arpeggiate. So essentially what that means is right now, everything's all starting at the same time, right? All those notes are playing all at once, all at once, all at once right there. Arpeggiating it would make it so it's playing more like bum 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 bum. So to get this effect, all you would need to do is kind of move them like this off time, and then you could even repeat them like this and make your own little patterns. And you can get even crazier with this and let's say move this part up an octave. And then it sounds like you're playing a whole melody, but really it's just that one chord arpeggiated. The next thing you can do is add what I like to call sprinkle chords. So to do this, all you need to do is chop up your chord a few times like this, and then you're just going to put it up an octave each time, like this. And then this one goes up another octave, and then this one goes up another octave. And when you play it like this, it's going to sound very, very weird and robotic, but I'll show you how to fix that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that all of these notes are going to play all the way through, and that's already going to sound a little bit smoother. Then the next thing you're going to do is strum these chords. So you're going to want to play them loosely and out of time instead of all playing straight right on the grid. And then once you do that, grab all these notes, lower the velocity a little bit so it's a little bit more gentle. And this is just a very quick example, but then you get something like this. And you could use that all the time in a motion.
Will I take the advice? Will I take the advice? I need to use the bathroom, so I'll be right back.